Alright, so what I got is a guy brought me over this Johnson really old motor, and like down here's the cowling. So it's an 18 horsepower, right? Seahorse, Johnson Seahorse. And you know, you see them 70s and 80s, but rarely do I see them this old. And try to do a little research on it, just because, I mean, you know, they didn't change a lot, but still there's some things on it that are pretty interesting to me. It does have the tag on it, so I don't know if I can get in there close enough to see it. But when I read that thing, right, I took a picture of it last night and I just like blew it up because my eyes aren't great. But it says, like, it does say FD. In the picture it kind of looked like a 1. It's pretty weird. But FD-14 B as in Bravo. So I went and looked this up. Of course, I found some, but then they were like, it's like, what year is this? So the closest I can find is, I think, between 59 and 61, 1959 through 1961, maybe 62. I mean, I know there's somebody who's a Johnson expert that's gonna say, I know exactly what year that is. But it had, and I took it off. I started tearing into this, and then I thought, man, I should be doing a video on this. But, you know, it's got a pull rod, which is in great shape. I mean, the whole thing is in great shape, honestly. It's just pretty amazing to me. But yeah, it had that on top, electric start, right? And so then there's, you know, your connection was here, right? But obviously this thing is, when I pulled it out, I mean, it's just all rotten through. You know, super old. There's a couple of leads that go up, okay, to underneath the flywheel is a point system, right? And we can see the 2 wires coming up to it. So there must have been like their version of what we would call a solenoid today. It's very interesting to me. And then a line would have went to the choke, because that is an electric choke, right? And then obviously, you know, your fuel pump, you could tell, like, probably needs a new fuel pump, because whatever that is, who knows what that is. But it's definitely not the right gasket. Now it looks like they got the right gasket behind it, but then for some reason they put this on there, so I don't think any of that's right. And I think this is a newer style, maybe fuel pump, I don't know. Gas comes in through, you have this little connector, so that's where your gas comes in. I just kind of stuck it back in the slot. I'll find the right screw, see if that's still good. That looks like a good connector, right? And then on the, see, so like you got the air box. This is not a tank, right? It's an air box. And then on some of the stuff that I found, you know, I hope this is not too dark. Maybe if I move. So it's got the front plate, right? So the newer ones, like in the late 60s, had a key switch here. And then you would use the electric motor to turn it on, turn it off. And I'm guessing in that year it just was, you know, power cable came in and I don't know, connected to a solenoid. But you got your choke, right? And then you got, this is all loose right now because it started taking it apart. But then, you know, this was your valve on the needle valve. So the needle valve was kind of in the middle here. You would adjust the needle valve, but then you could adjust how rich or how lean you wanted it to run. You know, I'm not sure why, but that's the way it is. It's probably going to sit in one position, but I got it loose right now. So to get it loose, you know, obviously you take the screws and take that off. That's pretty simple, right? And then you get to this, well, it's kind of got this nut, but this nut is recessed into this. So on the back side, there's a nut. Just make sure I'm getting a good shot of this. There's a nut, and so you loosen that, and then what I did was just take the needle valve out, which I have right here, and I looked it over pretty good. Doesn't really seem to be bad at all, so that's good. So where I'm at with it, you know, because he's probably not going to want to spend any money on this, and I don't, you know, I understand. But at the same time, man, I'd love to get this running because I just think that's as neat as can be. You know, looks like they had original paint that somehow they got on the rubber gasket, which is fine. This one's got, so this is your throttle, and it's got the location to actually hook up a throttle and a you know, throttle cable to here, and then on this side it's got the location to put your shift cable. And then I'm guessing, I don't know if they had a way to steer this or what was up with that, why they, or they just, that was an option. They just made them maybe without the tiller, I don't know. But yeah, you could still, I mean, it says start, shift, you know, that's in great shape. So, you know, of course, this guy, he's like, oh, I want the electric start to work because I don't want to pull the cable. And so I think what I want to do is pull the starter, put it on the bench, and see if it even works. If it works, that's pretty cool. Then I think we could figure out how that signal's coming from the points, and then it would just be a matter of wiring up a switch, right? So the switch could just go somewhere, maybe, you know, even take this connector out, you know, and put just a switch hanging out, and then your hot and your negative from your battery, you know, to the starter, and then, you know, however that wires up, you know, from inside here, because this is a different kind of thing than I would be used to. And then, you know, as well, probably there's a hot lead that charges the battery. So I'm thinking that's what those two lines are. It's just simply a start stop and then charging your battery. So, you know, it's something I don't know, and I'm gonna have to take this off, see how it's working. But since I got it off, it is sparking. It's got the wrong spark plugs in it. It's got these auto lights, 303 auto lights. He said he checked the compression, and the compression was really good. There is supposed to be a filter inside of here, right inside of this glass, but even that, he's got that still intact. That's just amazing. And I guess somebody at one point, they wrote some numbers down on the flywheel, probably trying to time it. Yeah, I think that's a lot easier than they had done, but all the linkage is there, the carburetors, and maybe this here needs to be pulled off and cleaned, right? So I would do that. And then he said he didn't think the impeller would, he said it had been sitting for a long time, so probably new impeller fluid, and then a good bath. But I want to look up like how to spray it down with something, because I don't want to mess this paint up. Although it's probably lead paint. It's so old. I mean, you know, what kind of paint did they use? It's got lots of character. I think it's pretty cool. Anyway, I want to share that. Everybody's doing well. Got a few other projects going. Got a pontoon boat with an old brown stripe Mercury on it, and I replaced the whole charging thing. I basically, the stator and the rectifier is charging now, but still not running good. Has some bad plugs, I know that for sure. And I'm putting a new starter on it and solenoid, and we're gonna see how it does. If it's still kind of wonky, I might pull the carbs, clean them. It's got a new fuel pump, so but the carbs seem like they were running before, and so after I do that, I want to time it, check timing, make sure it's timed right, and I should be done with that one. So anyway, that's for another guy that I met. So anyway, I got that one done, and then we're still trying to suss out the Yamaha 100 horsepower 4-stroke. Came in pieces, and I started to go through it a little bit. I want to go through every nut and bolt, see what I can see is missing, and then get with the guy and what he wants to do. But it's missing 2 crankshafts. Camshafts. So, but I mean, everything else seemed, well, I don't know how much is here, how much is not here. So that's what I got going on, and I hope everybody's doing well, safe, healthy. If you like what I'm doing, please like, subscribe. Thanks for watching.
Are you